Hey guys, what's up? This is Pantside Dragon, and today we'll be doing the top 5 best mid laners for solo queue. In this tier list, I asked some people in Challenger what they think the best mids are, and I got their opinion mixed with my opinions to create the top 5 tier list for now. So this tier list is going to be more oriented to higher elos, and in this video we'll be doing a ton of honorable mentions for you guys, since there is such a big pool of viable mids right now. And so with all that being said, let's get started. Alright, so starting up we do have Katarina at number 5. Katarina did get her passive nerf this patch, but honestly it's not a big deal, because usually if she does go in a team fight, she's probably coming in the team fight to clean it up and try to get mostly all the last hits or some assists. I'd say about 20% of the time it won't reset as it did before the patch that nerfed her, since maybe the enemy flashed away from her ulting or doing her combo onto them. Or maybe she used her Zhonya's and she doesn't get the reset because the enemy killed her like a second later after she popped her Zhonya's. Either way, she's still really good at team fighting, she's really good at getting kills around the map, so I definitely think she's still pretty good for solo queue. At number 4 we do have CASSIOPEIA. So CASSIOPEIA right now is pretty good. She did get nerfed a while ago with the mana costs, and that just means she's gonna constantly go if she has to harass the opponent a lot without blue. She's a pretty aggressive lane when she wants to be and can outtrade most mids these days, and because of her passive, her late game and mid game scaling is phenomenal. You do feel honestly like a god when you get around 1000 AP and you're level 18 and have all your passive stacks. In team fights, she has a counter initiation, so if the enemy wants to engage on her, then she can just stun all of them and they'll just be like, ah! And she does have pretty good sustained damage with her poison and the twin fangs, so she definitely has the threat of being like an AD carry who does magic damage. In the early game, I do feel like if she's not doing so good, then she won't have a big power spike when she does get to that mid game, and it will take her a while to get that power spike since she is kinda item reliant. She's also kinda hard to play and micro intensive, but other than that, she's pretty good right now. Next up at number 3 is going to be Annie. So the thing I like about Annie is how she can one-shot squishies. She has a really good initiation with her flash plus tibbers. She has a pretty good laning phase, especially with that Q change where when you kill an enemy, it resets her Q cooldown by half. And she is pretty easy to gank for too. She can definitely carry games, especially if she is better than the opponent, as she can snowball pretty well and becomes a huge threat to the enemy team. Although she does have her cons. First of all, in the late game she kind of does fall off because enemies start getting Banshee's Veil and Mercurial Scepter or even Quicksilver Sash, so she cannot one-shot them anymore. She also relies on flash 50% of the time for team fights, so you might need distortion boots, and she doesn't have any escapes in the laning phase except for her stun to stun the jungler or the enemy coming to her. But again, she is still pretty great because she can charge up her stun and roam to other lanes, or in fact kill her own lane with the help of her jungler, or of course by herself if she can outplay her opponent. Alright, so next up is going to be XERATH. In the latest patch, XERATH got a minor nerf to his stun, where if he hit the stun at max distance onto an enemy, it's now 1.75 seconds instead of 2.25. But I think that happens about 35% of his E's, and so still probably stun for like 1.5 seconds usually. And I would say it's a good thing because if you're sieging and you toss that thing out and it hits a person, it's like hitting someone with a Morgana binding, but there's a lot of burst to follow up onto that from XERATH, and so it can be more devastating than a Morgana binding Q. Now the reason why he's so good is because he's a really long range champion, so he can poke the enemy at a safe distance. He's like a better version of Ziggs, and his AP ratios are pretty high. The only problem about XERATH is he's pretty easy to initiate on, so if you have a Vi or Jarvan to lock him down, then he's easy to kill. But if you're a good player, you probably won't leave yourself in that kind of situation. He's also a pretty hard champion to play, as you have to hit your ults and be pretty accurate with them. And at number 1 is going to be LEBLANC. Alright, so I'm going to get in a lot of shit for this, even I doubt myself. But basically what people have been saying and what people have been using is LEBLANC. They've been using her to get to her 2 Masters or even Challenger. If you actually look at all the AP mids in Challenger, their most used champion is LEBLANC. Which means if you're a really good player and you know how to play LEBLANC, and you know if you want to carry games, you can use her. Even though her silence did get nerfed, she did get a buff to her distortion, which does mean she's pretty hard to kill without hard CC. She's also one of the only few champions who can one-shot people without DFG, and because of this she does have a lot of map pressure. She can definitely guard objectives well since there is the potential of killing the enemy really fast. And if I were to main mid lane and I want to carry myself to a higher ELO than I am right now, this is probably the champion I'd main. Although I don't feel comfortable playing around my ELO because I don't think I'm a really good LeBlanc, and the only champion I'd be playing mid lane is either Annie or Cho'Gath. But I don't go mid often, and that's basically my champion pool. Alright, so next up we'll be doing a bunch of honorable mentions. The first one is going to be Morgana. She's decent, she's good, she's pretty good against the top tier mids right now, and I guess you could say if you're mid game or late game and you land that binding, someone's gonna die. And next up is going to be Twisted Fate. Again, he has his semi-ultimate global. So if you do get a good laning phase going on and you roam to other lanes, you're gonna have a lot of map pressure with Twisted Fate. Next up is going to be Cho'Gath, and right now I honestly feel like he's somewhat sleeper OP, or at least in my opinion, because he does have high AP ratios, he has free bonus health from his ultimate, and he's also only one of the few champions to have a silence still. Basically, whenever I see this champion, I think that he's kind of trolling or whatever, but once I saw the potential that he won his lane, and he's actually doing good, he becomes a huge threat when like team fighting or sieging. But that is my opinion. And next up is Zed. Again, the only nerf he got was a attack speed nerf, but whatever, he can still get his job done, he can still one-shot those AD carries or squishies, and once he gets to his power spike, he can start split pushing. Next up is Talon. He has a lot of burst damage coming into him, and he has great team fighting, and he does scale pretty well into the late game. Next up is Lissandra mid, so she's becoming more popular in the mid lane than top lane. Basically the same stuff, she can use her ultimate to lock people down, she can wave clear good with her Q, and she's pretty easy to gank for. And last up there is Ahri. So she got nerfed a bit, but she's still pretty good. And that's basically the end of it. There's probably a lot more champions, but I think I've listed a good amount right here, and so I do hope you guys are happy. And yeah, that's basically it. Hey guys, so thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy this video, maybe you'll like some other tiers right up there. There's going to be top 5 best AD carries and top 5 best junglers, and then the top 5 best top laners. But that one's going to be for patch 1.3, but it's relatively the same since there hasn't been a lot of changes for the top laners, so I don't feel like we should do another video for that one. And if you guys like this video, subscribe right there. And shout out to my sponsors, What the Fast and Outfit Draft. Outfit Draft, it's honestly better than the Fantasy LCS because you can actually win cash prizes. Some of the contests do require an entry fee, but there are some free contests for you guys to enter, so do check that out. And I heard their top users are actually making over 2,000 a week, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.